Okay, perfect. And then if you can pass the ball to me.
Yes.
Okay, we have some returning mentors. So this is a great opportunity for Alina. And is it Alina or Elena, by the way? Elena, okay. And Ellison to ask questions of the returning mentors. But before we do that, there's a couple of logistical things we need to, let me show you first. You'll get this in an email tonight, okay? And all it is this. So let me show you. So when you get an email from us, it's gonna be just a Google form for acceptable use policy, okay? And your email is required. This is how so think of this as a digital signature that you agree to these terms. And so when you receive this Google form, just type in your email address, make sure it's valid, and then click here. And that's kind of the digital signature, if you will, that you're accepting the acceptance policy. So before we get into the acceptance policy, there's one thing that I have to stress. We are not a professional tutoring service. We are not a professional tutoring, you are not professional tutors. And what this is our pastor, Reverend Kim, during COVID said, a lot of parents are kind of worried for both academic and also contact. They may not have the necessary mentors at school because they're not physically going to school. And so that's kind of the reason why the CAAP started, okay? Now, there is monetary benefit, which means that you'll also get a timesheet. It's very simple. You just type in you'll pick your name. So there'll be a drop down with your name, and then you put in who the mentee was, how many hours, how many minutes you spent with that person. And it's very, very important that you update this on a timely basis, because that's the only way we keep track of how to reward you, how to compensate you at the end of either mid-semester and at the end of the semester. Okay, depending on, we typically do mid-semester, we do one payout, we kind of zero out the books, and then we do another half of that semester as well. Okay, now that things could change, but if you don't put it in there and you email me hours, then I'm busy too, and I may not remember to put it in. And then when the church cuts the check, that's when everybody goes, oh, wait a minute, what happened to these hours and these hours? So to avoid all that pain, angst, confusion, and needless back and forth email, it's the sheets that you'll see for the time is the only acceptable hours. That's the source of truth for hours. So please update it, get in the habit that as soon as your session is over, open up that Google link and put in your hours right then and there, okay? Your mentees will do it as well, but I also realize they're younger, they're not as mature, and chances are I have to chase them down and they may or may not be as diligent. But your compensation, your reward is tied to it. So and also, when you do volunteer hours for school, that's how we're going to pick up the total number of hours to present to your school, okay, or anybody else that needs the volunteer hours. So please be mindful that it's very important that you fill out the sheets. Again, you'll get a email with the link for the timesheet and the acceptable use policy. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. All right, then let's continue. So the other thing is, this acceptable use policy seems fancy and everything. Why do we even need something like this? Well, this goes back to one of the fundamental questions that I asked when I became a Christian. Why are there so many problems at church? And I still remember one of the pastors told me, we're all sinners. We have the original sin. People have sinned from the beginning of time. And that's why, of course, if you have sinners, of course, there's going to be problems. The thing that kind of amps this up a little bit is that you're dealing with parents who may be frustrated with their children, parents who may be worried about their academic success of their children. So out of all these good intentions, you may be the brunt of I need to do this, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, etc. Okay. That's why we have an acceptable use policy for the parents as well. Our goal is to try and protect you from over aggressive parents or anybody that might have the wrong understanding of what this is. Because remember, this is a service that out of the goodness of all of us, you're all volunteering your time doing for the mentees. Okay, so that's why we have an acceptable use policy. And also because we want you to be as professional as possible. You have to let us know if parents keep reaching out to you, because even though in the acceptable use policy for the parents, they said, come to us, come to myself or Deacon you on the call here to help, they sometimes forget, they're in a hurry, they're frustrated, so they may keep reaching out to you, etc. So if it gets to be overbearing, let us know, and then we'll step in to play interference and provide air cover as needed so that you can concentrate on becoming the mentors that you are. Okay. So that's the kind of, we consider this the professional growth opportunity for you. You can put these volunteer hours on your college essays. You can do this for your CV, etc. So it is a professional growth. The other thing is, it's hard to teach someone a subject. Okay, it's one thing for you to know a subject. It takes another level of understanding to try and teach it to someone else. And that's why I think you'll be valuable for you, because you're reviewing, sure, it may be math from 4 or 5 years ago, or a subject from 3 years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago, as it may, but it's a good foundation. It's a good way to, kind of go back and in time and learn these topics and present it in a way that's meant for consumption by someone else. Remember, these are things that you studied on your own. You took a test, but it was all, inward facing. Now it's outward facing. So it is a good professional growth opportunity. So let's go down these things real quick and I'll just highlight: be on time. Again, the one thing you can't be as you progress in your life. So, Ellison and Lena, you guys are in 10th grade, but others are closer to college. Some of you are in college, which means you're going to be going into interviews and you'll have a job. Some of you may already have a job. You can't be late ever. Okay. So that's just one thing that as you grow older and become professional, you cannot be late. It's a cardinal sin. So start now. Okay. So for these sessions, start on time. And if your mentee is coming in consistently late, let us know as well. Okay. So because we have to correct this, right? You should not be wasting your time for 10 minutes while the student joins the Zoom call week after week after week. Now, does it happen from time to time? Sure. They might have, run into traffic. They might have had, for all I know, they could be going to another hagwon and coming to here for additional tutelage. So I understand that, but it can't be systemic tardiness every time. So let us know, and we'll talk to the parents and say, look, we need you to kind of make sure your children are on time. And also the question, I guess, sometimes is, hey, if I have to wait 15 minutes, does that count as billable? And the answer is yes, it is. You're on call waiting for a student. So the clock starts the minute you turn on the Zoom or any messenger, whatever you want to use, mechanism you want to use to do the coursework. Okay. And I think a lot of you use Messenger, and some people use Discord. We're not that strict on what you can or can't use.
Right.
So
and just to chime in is you may consider using calendar invites, whether it's Google Calendar or something, so that you could constantly have a reminder spring. So people, we're all busy, so you try to use your calendar effectively.
And feel free to copy the parents as well, because they know that there's they might be able to help you in reminding their children that there's a session coming up. Okay. So again, emergencies and last minute cancellations, of course. I mean, this is something that you might have to run, might happen to you. There's a last minute, pop quiz that the professor announced on a Friday, and you have to cram Saturday and Sunday because the test is on Monday. So we understand that. But at the same time, you're signing up, there's an obligation to this. So try to avoid rescheduling, cancellation as much as you can on your end. And again, if it happens on the student side, let us know and we'll provide that. So communication, this is important. You'll find that your student, your mentee, may react to Messenger, text message, SMS, Kakao Talk, phone calls even, and some students may not have a phone. Remember that. If they're young enough, they may not have a phone because their parents won't let them have the phone. And so that means you have no choice but to contact the parent and find out whether they prefer Kakao Talk, whether they prefer SMS, or even a phone call. And so schedule that in a manner that fits the mentee. Not everybody reacts the same way to the various methods of getting a hold of them. Okay. We talked about this kind of, again, this is very important because if you don't do this, you're like, oh, what's the big deal? I'll just email you and you just add 20, 30, 40 hours. Well, it's not just me. I have to add the hours. Deacon Yu has to let the church know. The church has to update their spreadsheet, and they may have to recut the check. It's a lot of downstream work, all because something simple didn't happen. That's why we're very strictlers about making sure your hours are reported. From a compensation perspective, yes, we have a set hour for college students. With high school, it's a little bit different. So we have kind of an honorarium, if you will, a gift card equivalent. So we're not calling it a pay, because if we do call it a pay, we might have to get permission from your school and all of that. So it's more of kind of, think of it as an honorarium being paid out via Amazon or some kind of gift card. It can be also the gift card, Apple gift card. I think we've done those temporary Visa debit card type things. So we're very flexible in how we pay, especially the college students. Okay, Venmo, checks. I think we've wire transfers. I think we've seen all of them. And then I'll open it up to question after this one more here. So, what do I do? So some of you new mentors might thinking, well, okay, I signed up for a program. Do I have a textbook? Do we have a course? No, we don't. So the idea here is that whatever the student needs, so they'll say, I need help with history, math, social sciences, physics, chemistry, etc. So we'll match you up to your strength. So feel free to use Khan Academy. For example, that's a great resource. Feel free to use the mentee's textbook. So find out what they're doing the following week, just get the subjects, and you can look it up, go to Khan Academy, or make up the coursework on your own and work out the problems with them. The one thing we don't want this to be is a homework service. We don't expect you to do every single homework problem. And while they sit there and go, okay, as you fill out and give them every single answer. It's perfectly okay to use 1, 2, or some of those questions, and let me show you how to solve this. Okay, but you have to probe them and say, what do you think the answer is here? What is the next step? It's not just them passively watching as you do all their homework. Okay, you can use that homework because they're stuck on it. They don't know how to move forward. They don't understand it. They don't get it. Explain the concepts behind the homework, maybe even change some of the numbers and formula, and give them a similar problem if you want. But even if you do the homework, remember to quiz them and make sure they're active participants and that they're not just watching you solve something thinking, oh, good, I got my homework done for tomorrow. Okay, now that's a fine line between doing their homework and using their homework as a basis to teach them. But I think you'll get a good feel for it as you kind of progress as mentees. Okay. So at this point, I'll open it up for any questions, concerns, and then we'll follow it up with the other mentors who were on the call and have done this before. Yep, go ahead.
So you said we're going to be assigned regarding our strengths. Doesn't mean we're going to have a different mentee every time, or we're just going to have the
No,
same mentee.
no. So it'll be, we'll try to keep it. So at midway through, there might be some changes if the parents like, okay, we've had enough history. I want to go to sciences now. So we've had that happen, but for the most part, you'll be, I almost said you'll be stuck with a mentee, but not stuck. You'll have the opportunity to work with the same student over and over.
And it also will
Right.
be one subject. We're not going to be doing like all subjects. It's just one specific subject. I guess.
It's so we actually have to make double up because we have more students than mentees. And so when we find out, some have strength in science and math, others have strength in English and social studies. So we'll try to match up the strength as best we can.
But
Right.
like each mentee will have one subject. Like that. Like if, for
Yes.
example, if I have a mentee, I won't be teaching them everything that they need to know. If they need help with math or English or science, it'll just be
Yeah,
like,
they
oh,
sign
math.
up. Yes, they sign up for a subject and it's not an open-ended teach me everything, all of my classes. You'll know going in that you'll be concentrating on math and English if you sign up for 2 students. But it's not a free form teach me everything. You will not be surprised on the subject matter.
Right. When you signed up, for your subject you wish to teach, I think you signed up for math. So we're going to try to match you with somebody who wants to learn more about strengthening their math. So, I mean, that's our effort to have a very good matchup in terms of the mentee in need and the mentor's strength. But, we have all-around players like Eric who can pretty much teach anything. And I think maybe this is a good opportunity for Eric to chime in on what he did when he was mentoring his mentees.
So last year when I was mentoring, I guess I did a little different where say someone wanted help with math, I gave the person help with math, but I was okay with answering questions if he had any struggle with like any other sciences or any like quick questions with like maybe like English or anything else, but I guess we mainly stuck to the subject that he signed up for, and then everything else for me was just whatever. If he also needed extra help on anything
Right.
else.
Exactly. So we don't want to be a Siri or a Google. It's not like, hey, Google, well, how do you solve this kind of situation? I think we're trying to be very, programmatic. You signed up for math, let's stick to math. And then if they have some sidebar questions, like for social studies, maybe you could try to help, but you don't, again, you don't want to be this covering everything. And then in terms of the approach, Thomas, maybe do you want to talk about what you've experienced as a mentor for 2 students?
Okay, so I think for the approach, I sort of approached it in a way where I would go off the Khan Academy curriculum and we would go through Khan Academy and just like review over the lessons and then we'll solve the practice problems together. But it's more like I'm guiding through it, not really solving the problems itself. And from there, I really pretty much just stuck with math throughout the entire way. Sometimes they'll come to me with I think earth science and they came with like biology, but those didn't last too long. It's like maybe one time, and that was pretty much it. I mainly kept with math. Yeah.
Okay.
And the one other advice that, actually Thomas shared it with us last year as we were wrapping up the first year of this is that, be mentors to them. They may not have anyone else besides their parents to talk about something. So, if they're getting towards their junior, senior year, of course, they have questions about college admissions. They might have about school, about subjects, anything of curiosity. So don't be afraid to venture out of the academic to give them advice, career advice, life lessons. You are a mentor. Okay, it's not just an academic tutoring session. Be a mentor to them because they might be struggling with a question that they can't easily bring up to their parents. Let's face it, we're all Asians. and there are certain decorum as a child talking to a parent, and they may not feel as comfortable, whereas they see you as a kind of a neutral third party adult who can help them with questions. So open up to them and make them feel welcome, that they can approach you with questions that they might have outside of the academics. Okay, we're not saying be a counselor. Don't be a, you don't have to be a psychiatrist to them at all. That's not what we're talking about. Just if they need bounce some ideas off of you, then by all means, feel free to do that. Okay. And yes, go ahead.
What is how much time do you expect to, we're gonna make that with the mentee, right? Or like decide how much time we're gonna do, like either it's once a week, twice a week, or like once every other week, something like that. And like how long, like an hour or like what time, that's all gonna be depending on the mentee, right? There's no requirement regarding the program.
Well, there is a guideline. Guideline is, the recommendation is about 2 hours a week. That's the recommendation.
Mhm.
But some people just need 1 hour a week. Some people may want 3 hours a week, although more is usually rare. It's the people usually want 2 or less. And then, I think we also, once we sign the mentee, you probably have to coordinate the ideal time. And we recommend you sort of stick to like once a week at a designated day and time. So you don't forget, you sort of, like a Sunday at 7:00 or something like that. You sort of agree to it and let the parents know, so that the parents don't, arrange something that's conflicting.
Okay.
So that's how we're going to do it.
And if you feel up to it and the mentee says, hey, let's do, 4 hours a week, and you have that luxury, we won't limit you in terms of how many hours, but at the same time, we don't want you to burn out by having, 7 days a week session like that. So we're very flexible. 2 is the general guideline, but if they want to do less, that's okay. If they want to do more, and you're willing, that's okay. Don't be pressured to thinking, oh, I have to say yes, because remember, you're volunteering your time as well. Okay, so you do have a say in how this is all going to run. Any questions? Any other questions? Anything new, Thomas, Eric, that you thought, wow, I didn't know this was going to happen? Any kind of anecdotal story of things that you unexpected or unanticipated, not an issue, or just anything unexpected that you want to share? Eric, what about you? We'll start with you first.
I guess other like not being unexpected, but I think something that I didn't really do much last year, which I realized I should have done, was so what I did was I scheduled whenever my student needed help. I would just get like we would just schedule it. So like every week it would be different, a different time and a different date. Um, but I think it's a really good idea to have a specific time and date. And even if your student only has a couple questions that maybe take like 30 minutes, I think like setting that 1 hour or like 1.5 hour, 2 hour block, um, like still like completing that and just like after like helping them with schoolwork, just talking to them and being an actual mentor about like just like life stuff or um like how to go about progressing in his subject or her subject or any other subjects, or like how you went through that grade, your mentee is going through, stuff like that. I think that's um, something big that I really missed last year that I'm gonna try and focus more on this year.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Thomas, what about you?
It's sort of the same thing with Eric, but it's not that I'm trying to focus more on it. It's like what I've been going through. Recently, both of my mentees have been sort of wanting to stay behind after the whole lesson is over. They usually want to stay behind and talk to me for a little bit more. Like they talk about their lives, their school lives, and we could just talk about advice on what to do at church, like what's going on at school. And usually we talk around like 30 minutes, and it could keep on going on, but that only goes after the lesson's over. So, but it's a good time to get your mentor, like get to know your mentors. And also, it feels like a sort of like a fellowship. So yeah.
Thank you, Thomas. And make sure, don't forget to put those as billable, Thomas. Don't, you know, you don't have to just do it just because it's important to keep track of hours too then. Okay. Because I don't think you've been doing that. The other thing I'll say is, you know, parents, like, you know, if they are contacting you constantly, please let us know. We are here to help. We are here to facilitate. We're not trying to scare you. I'm just saying that, you know, when a parent is stressed out about academic or their child in their best, they have the best of intentions, and they may not know that they're contacting you at 7 a.m. on Sunday or Saturday may not be the best, most productive thing. Okay, so if you run into that, don't wait. Don't wait till you get frustrated. By all means, let Deacon you and I know, and we'll step in and take care of it. Okay, so I just want to reiterate that. One other thing that kind of came up, we didn't really touch on it, is the camera of the student. So we expect that to be on because when you're mentoring someone and you're doing lessons, they could be watching something else. They could be on their phone and just going, okay, got it. Yep, okay. And so we expect, it's a requirement in the acceptable use policy that they will have their cameras on. Now, if they tell you, oh, my camera's broken, okay, let us know, because we'll tell the parent, hey, your kid's camera is not working. So how about you go buy a webcam for them? And you'll quickly find out that maybe the webcam wasn't broken after all. Okay, so don't, again, I'm not trying to paint a negative picture, but you know, kids are kids. So make sure you have the camera on, and maybe more importantly, if their audio is horrible, let us know, because if we have to ship out a small microphone or better, you know, something, then you know, we'll do something like that, right? Because I know it's very hard and very frustrating if you can barely hear them. So if something like that is happening, logistically challenging, let us know as well. Okay, don't suffer through it.
Absolutely. I think also, I mean, we have the means to fund equipment. So if you think you could use a lighting piece or a microphone or anything else to enhance your experience, let us know. We will buy them for you. We will support you in that way. Luckily, Zoom on one-on-one is free, and it's like in-depth, you know, it's like you could use it as much as you want. So I think we have a great platform that we could use, which is doesn't really cost us anything. And by the way, I know it's still COVID and it's hard to manage, but if you want to do one-on-one in person, you can do that if that's an option that you could explore, if that really is helpful. But Eric, I know you're far away, so you know that's not an option. But either way, try to think about ways to get close to your mentee, and also if you have some chemistry issue with your mentee, try to work it out or let us know. Maybe we could talk to their parents, because sometimes the mentees have not really volunteered. They were volunteered on their behalf. So they're not going to be all smiley in front of you and all happy to talk to you. They might be, grumpy. And so there's got to be a breaking the ice moment and try to get them to warm up to you. So in the beginning, it may be a little bit difficult, but maybe this is a question also for Eric and Thomas. Maybe how did you break ice with your mentees?
Go ahead, Thomas.
Oh, I guess I think for me, um, like at least for the first meeting, just like introducing myself and telling them what I've been doing as a student and just like academic stuff like that, and then just asking them like what they're doing currently in school, like how do they feel about school, like what do you do for fun, just like the basic questions to get to know the person, and then after that just going on to doing this stuff. But I think it's a good idea to at least spend like a good 30 minutes just talking about yourself and the person.
Thomas, anything you want to add there?
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as Eric. It's just like, what do you like to do? Getting to know their hobbies and asking what happened at school, like how was it? But also the fact that when you make yourself vulnerable, I noticed they begin to feel more comfortable. So I don't know, maybe you share a funny story or something that is interesting about you, that's they could relate to, or they'll find funny, they'll find something entertaining, then they'll feel a lot more comfortable in the meeting and they'll share stuff about themselves too.
Yeah. And so the other recommendations I can give you some helpful hints. You could talk about food, their favorite game, favorite show, favorite class, favorite teacher, maybe the teacher they hate the most and why. And these are all topics that they would be motivated to talk about. The other thing that Thomas should know this after being in my Bible study all last year, I start every Bible study with high low. What was your high for the last week? What was your low point of your last week? And over time, you may hear like, oh, school was hard or this or that, but it's a great way to break the ice because they kind of have to sit and think about, okay, what happened last week? What was the high point? What was the low point? And it gives you very quickly focuses their mind and gets them to think about what happened and something to talk about as opposed to having that awkward silence. Okay. So if you want to spend the first, half a session or even the full session just getting to know the mentee, that's okay too, because again, your mentors, not just talking heads who are teaching them a subject. Okay. So for example, like Ellison, what is that grid behind your the mantelpiece on your bed? What exactly is that? I've been trying to figure this out.
Oh, well, I'm not. This is not my room. It's near. It's like near the living room ish.
Oh,
There's
I see.
like a mirror, I think. I
Oh,
don't
it's
know.
a mirror. Oh, okay, so it's like a reflection of. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I thought, are you like playing giant checkers, but there's not enough squares for checkers? So I've been trying to figure out what that was. Okay. So again, these are some things that you can use to talk to your students about. And obviously, Thomas is into tennis and basketball. Got Jordan there behind there, and I think Eric. I don't know if you're in your dorm room or not, but looks like a dorm, maybe.
I'm
Is
in
that
an
right?
apartment. I'm doing my internship right now, so I'm at my own
Okay,
place.
gotcha. Okay. Um, okay. And then, so I know we don't have to be on just to be on the Zoom call. Any questions? I know, like I said, some of you are new. You may have, and again, anytime you have questions, by all means, email both of us. Happy to answer. But anything top of mind? Any questions, concerns right now? No. Okay. Please be sure to check your email. Okay. So we email you the information. We might remind you about this or that. So by all means, please, please, please check your email regularly. And tonight you'll get the link for Be on the Lookout for the time recording link. Save that because you're going to use it again and again and again. And then the acceptable use policy, that's one and done. You could just sign it once and you don't necessarily need the link again because you won't have to refer to it. The time, just put it in a notepad somewhere because you'll be using it all the time. Okay. In fact, put a reminder on your calendar after your mentee. So as soon as that 1 hour session is over, that the next fill in the hour, because I know that if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. Okay, it's just the way everybody's busy. So you just need a little nudge. So when you set up the time, set up another 10-minute appointment to alert you at the end of, beginning of it, so that as the session ends, you put in your hours. Okay.
Great. So Deacon Bay, could you walk us through what to expect for the benefit of the new mentors? What they have to do is, are they going to get an email that gives them the matched mentees? And then they have to reach out to the mentees through email or cell phone. And then arrange a time in the week to
Yes.
to meet up?
Yes. So I'll be sending out kind of, hey, you found you found the match. So I'll introduce you to the student and to the parent on the same email. And then I'll leave it up to the mentor to reach out to the student. Okay. Now, I don't know, Dick and you, if we have any student without an email or cell phone.
We're
they-
100%.
100%. Okay. So that means you have direct access to the children. So in that email, again, and then we're, immediately following this session is we have the session with the parents and the students. So I'll keep reminding them, check your emails and check your text messages. But I'll leave it up to you and the student to find the best way to communicate. Okay, Discord, Kakao Talk, chat, SMS, Messenger, whatever it is, whatever it's, so something hopefully they use all the time so that they won't, oh, I didn't see this, sorry. Okay. And we leave it up to you to reach out to the mentee and schedule the first session, agree, via email or chat or whatever the mechanism is, agree on it. When you set that schedule though, please remember to copy the parent and say, these are the times that we suggest, we agreed upon, and send them a calendar invite, more so than the parent for the kid, because I don't know how many children, depending on the age, have or care about calendar invites, but parents will certainly do. So remind the mentee and the parent on the scheduled time between that you and the mentee figured out. Okay, and loop in the parent. After that, you don't necessarily have to loop in the parents with anything that's happening on a weekly basis. There's no progress report or anything like that. You can, and some parents might say, hey, can you, when you talk to my kid, can you CC me on it? They may make that request, and by all means let them do that, but there's no requirement for you to have a status report to the parents.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we have a little time, so let's take a break. If you can come back at 6 o'clock, just to say hi to the mentees. You don't have to stay for the whole time. All it is a big hello, I am who, and then it'll probably take you maybe 10, 15 minutes, and then you could, get off the Zoom call, and we'll deal with the remainder of the mentees. We'll talk about, their side of the equation in terms of what they are to have to be accountable for and how the process works. And so without further ado, I will stop the recording now, and then we'll see you 6-ish.
Thank you. And yeah, you can start with your age, your grade, what school you may go to, what you study, just things about yourself. You don't have to give a speech or anything, just a quick few bullet points of what you like so that the parents and students can get to know you better. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
We'll talk to you in a bit. Bye.
Bye-bye.